Good morning, Altheans. Good morning. I will start with just a gentle reminder to listen for a higher calling and turn off your cell phones, please. My name is Luis Felipe Valente Rios, and I will be your Mister of Ceremonies today. We have an awesome service lined up for you today. As some of you might know, I am a first grade teacher here in Denver, and I start the day off with my students by declaring that today is a great day. But because it's Grandparents' Day, today is a grand day. So if you'll say it with me, ready? Today is a grand day. Yes, it is. And so we declare it so. All right, so we'll start off by acknowledging that we are growing in diversity here at Althea. When I see some new faces, that's really exciting. We're growing in diversity. We still have a long way to go, but I was invited to speak today, and I think that goes a long way, and I think seeing people of color on the stage and speaking on the stage goes a long way. So thank you, Jenny, and thank you for inviting me today. So we also have a very strong LGBTQ plus membership here. And there's still so much that we can do to become welcoming and inclusive. And it's both a collective responsibility and an individual responsibility. So we do acknowledge that institutional racism is real, implicit and unconscious biases are real, as are the the lived experiences of our neighbors of color and of people with diverse abilities and other groups that don't have the same privileges in our culture. So we ask that for everyone's help and everyone's feedback and helping us grow, so this is a place of deep belonging for everyone. Okay? All right, so, and also during that, we also start each service with a land acknowledgement. So we want to acknowledge that this is the indigenous land of the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, and the Ute people, and it's important for us to know that. Their legacy matters because this was their sacred ground, and it is made even more holy for Althea because of that history. So to ensure that this land acknowledgement is more than a statement, Althea looks for opportunities to be an impactful partner and allies for Indigenous communities. So this building is also home to two nonprofit organizations that impact Indigenous communities here in Denver, and they are Spirit of the Sun and the Sisters of Color United in Education. And their work in activism and programming and education is very impactful. So I would like to start our candle lighting ceremony today in honor of our Indigenous ancestors. So if you'll bring the Cheyenne and the Ute and the Arapaho to your mind and bless them as an honor. This is for our Indigenous ancestors. So since it is also Parents' Day, the next candle is in honor of our grandparents, so here present physically and not. So if you'll bring them to your mind, who they are, their names, the love that you have for them, so I like the next. This is for our grandparents. The next candle is in honor of our elders, both alive and not, related by blood or otherwise. This building is almost 100 years old, and we have our founders, Nona Brooks, and 3 other wonderful women who if you go around this hallway, you can see their names and their pictures. So in honor of our elders, that are not necessarily alive, also our spiritual elders that have guided us to this path we are on. And then finally, we acknowledge the tragedy anniversary of September 11th, the attacks of September 11th. May today be a day of healing. May our coming together continue to heal that pain. So, in honor of the heroes and the victims and the survivors of the September 11th attacks, we like this word count. We will bring those 4 to mind, those 4 groups to mind, and we will honor them all of them on the side. I'd love to welcome new members. If you have the key, well, please raise your hand. We have a special gift for you. New members, new people. Yay! Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for coming. Also, after service, you can stick around. There is a free lunch for you. Like to sit down. There's always lunch for being the first time here. It's free. And if you can't stick around today, just let us know later and you'll get to sit down. All right, I would like to welcome Alice Brink up. She is going to do our opening prayer.
Sarah, I know you're hiding. person of the body and of the earth, but also a pure person of spirit and connected to the divine. So I do that. You guys know I work with energy. Most of you know I work with energy. So I place one hand on my heart and the other hand below my navel. Navel, that's how you say it. Your navel, so that you feel more grounded in your body. And so I invite you, if you like, to have that position or not, and close your eyes if you feel comfortable. And just notice your breath settling down. Allow your attention to come inside. Let go of all that clutter and kerfuffle that brought you here today. And enjoy resting in the center of you. And you breathe gently in and out from the center of your being. Let us acknowledge that collectively we have great power to connect with the infinite love of the universe. And as we gratefully stand here on this earth today, we are respectfully remembering those that suffered in the events of 9/11 and those families that continue to feel the reverberations of that event, and all the first responders and caregivers that are touched by that. Let's just take a moment and infuse that moment and the moments that come forth from that, and infuse that time with love. Let's be the connection of love. And though we can't erase the events, we can re-energize them, and we can soothe them, and we can heal them. The mighty power we have to connect with divine love of the universe. And now let's expand our awareness, and let's encircle the globe as it is now. Any areas of sorrow and loss, especially for England, the loss of their long-standing queen. Pray for a peaceful transition and continual unfoldment of the divine plan for that country. And as we expand our awareness around the entire globe, any area of strife or war or conflict that comes to mind, let's just drench that with the energy of love and healing. We're so very grateful for this divine connection, but it's our honor to hold space for. It's our honor to be the instruments of in this lifetime, in this moment. We pray for continued healing and collective raising of awareness. That we are connected. We are the one. We matter, and we can be useful in the cause of peace. In the name of the living, loving Creator of all that is, so it is.
Good morning. Please stand and share your little journey. All right. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one is all. It's perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God, and are everyone with this perfect life, perfect love, and are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. We are a family. You are the face of God. And the beautiful music keeps on coming. Today we have the honor of Jennifer Price and Scooter Barnes. So after a 10-year hiatus from music, Jennifer Price is showing up with a folk blues vocal and her acoustic guitar. And her songs are familiar yet unique and full of raw emotion and love. She is a native of Mile High City, and she's excited to be playing out for people again. And Scooter is also a Denver native, has been performing for over 40 years and teaching for over 20 years. His on-the-stage experience is paralleled by none, and he is currently finishing his degree with Berkeley Online, studying guitar performance. And he brings a layer of frequency that delights the ear by tuning his instruments to E-flat, 432 hertz. What did I say? All right, this is Jennifer and Scooter. Round of applause for that.
What a beautiful day. This is a song called My Angel. She could remember in his smile. The whole world would stop for a little while. Just a little while. Then he told her once again. When he saw her, he knew what forever meant. And forever, please begin. I believe you're an angel in the space I breathe. You have given me identity. You found another way. You found another way. Feel a stranger in your skin, with the thoughts of who you should be. Who you could have been. All the things we take for granted, and the things expecting happen, and we wish our lives away. I feel you're an angel in the space I live. You found another way. It happens all the time. We're reading through the night, and we live with so much heart. In the end, we sit must part. I feel for an angel in the space I live. She didn't have a choice. No, not a choice. You could see it in her eyes. Things were goodbye. No, my baby, don't you cry. An angel in the space I breathe. I can see you with me. I didn't see you found a way.
That deserves one more round of applause. All right, next up is our featured speaker, a dear friend of the Althea community, Horia Montessori. He is the founder of In the Footprints of Rumi. He shares his privileges as someone familiar with the language, culture, and religious spiritual background of Rumi to support individuals in understanding what Rumi said and taught, which has been ignored, erased, and misinterpreted through translations and renditions in the West. He is heavily influenced and informed by Islamic Sufism, Vedanta teachings, perennial philosophy, and Alderian psychology and philosophy, to name a few. Horia makes his living as a spiritual director coach through his practice, Access Mundi, Heart Center coaching, supporting individuals in exploring the interiority of their beings. He is also an executive coach and organizational leadership renewal consultant, working with leaders and managers to create healthy cultures at work. Please give him a warm welcome and a round of applause for Horia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of the one, the infinitely good, the all-merciful. Beautiful music, thank you. As I'm standing in front of you, there's something that permeates every fiber of my being, informs me, gets my mind's neurons, my heart's neurons, my gut's neurons. It guides me, and yet it might be invisible to you and to your eyes. And that is the experiences and the times that I've spent with my grandparents. 2 grandmas and 1 grandpa. The other grandpa left his body before I was born. And those moments, those times, those experiences, there's this beautiful transmission happening effortlessly into this, little boy's body and mind. And I can still feel that inside of me. There is no karmic noise that exists between grandparents and grandchildren. So then, modeling happens without modeling. Teaching happens without talking. And nothing but love and presence exists. And those teachings, I was too young to intellectualize, but still, what happened is grok. You know what grok means? Like getting something on a cellular level. And that was planted in me for those seeds to blossom later in life. Additionally, at the same time, what is informing every fiber of my being, without which I wouldn't be here, is the wisdom of the elders. And for me are the mystics, the saints, the prophets, the elders in the community, my mother's aunt, my great aunt, who was just a manifestation of beauty and the presence of God and sweetness and compassion. And all of that exists inside of me, just like it exists inside of you, as I invite you to just contemplate that as you're hearing me. The only way that I could forget this reality is to ignore it. And the only way that I can remember it is to be honest, humble, practice gratitude, and recognize the interconnectedness of all that surrounds me. And of course, to choose not to be a narcissistic, entitled God to myself. Michael Meade says, the elders are those who have found ways to accept the hand that fate has dealt to them. By virtue of that, they also find the paths of genuine meaning and purpose that make life truly rich and make death the middle of a long life. It is the elder within us that understands that we must die before we die in order to truly live. So here we see that elder is not necessarily connected to getting older. And I'll speak to that in just a second. That essence of wisdom exists in us regardless of our age, our physiology. For those of you who have taken the Rumi course or the clients and coaches that I work with around this, we know that when we work with the dimensions of the heart, Not the hallmark heart, not the heart of just emotion, not the sentimentalities, but the vast and infinite heart, which we begin with the physical one in the core of our being. We know that the back of the heart is the portal for wisdom, for ancestors, for mystics, for grandparents that are no longer with us, for wisdom to come through. And this is why either when someone places their hand on the back of your heart, you feel some tenderness, you release, especially when something's stuck or you're sad. And at the same time, it could really trigger you, depending on how hardened it is or how soft and available it is. But because we only look this way, and now we look at a screen that looks that way, creating a world that nothing but just me and my image exists. And it's going to get worse than it's ever been because of our gadgets. We're not in this body, we're not in this space to even pay attention to the back of our hearts. We're literally and spiritually is where the wisdom comes through. Is where that ever-presence wisdom and teaching of all the beings that have come before us come through, including those that still exist, if we pay attention. Michael Meath further says that in the old wisdom traditions, elders act as a living bridge between the visible, measurable world and the mostly unseen realms of spirit and soul. So, when we learn not to honor the wisdom within, no matter who you are, what age you are, when the attention is outwardly, not much can happen. But when the attention is faced, kind of turned around, and you spend some time here, in your heart and in your being and in your spirit, you begin to recognize the inner wisdom, recognize the inner elder, recognize the inner heart. But when we don't honor it, when we don't pay attention to it, it reflects and mirrors back into our external world. And it manifests as a disregard, a lack of appreciation for wisdom and knowledge, as well as for experience and insight. Wisdom, knowledge, experience, and insight. I can only have appreciation for that when I am in touch with my own experiences and insights, and my own knowledge through experience that gains into the wisdom that I have. And when I am not in touch with that, I cannot expect to recognize that outside of me. Be it in my peers, my parents, my grandparents, my teachers, who make very little money, right? I mean, look at our world is very telling. People, like doctors make a lot of money. I mean, naturally and rightfully. But then if someone is working with something that is invisible, like kind of teaching something that is invisible, but it has worth, we don't value that, and we don't pay them as much. But a plastic surgeon makes a lot of money, because that's what we value. And one of the forms of not honoring is not honoring those who have these experiences. This becomes easier and more problematic, again, in this egocentric, narcissistic, and entitled world that we've created. And these words are strong words, but they are reality. We have to look at them. I'm choosing these words very carefully, because it's very connected to appreciating or not appreciating the eldership inside of ourselves or in the other outside, be it from the past or from the present. We're too busy honoring ourselves, but without any measures, mirrors, validations, or authorities to confirm and affirm. This not only ensures a lack of creating future elders in our society, but also manifests as a total disregard. The secular world completely ignores youth and denies it its rites of passage, while materialism sells as a fountain of youth. And at the same time, it denies the elders and places them out of sight because they do not fit the image that we have been sold, the fountain of youth, which is extremely external, materialistic, surface level, shallow way of looking at the world. And we are sold that again and again and again, to the point that we even look at spirituality from a very materialistic way. Sadly, modern society and modern science is so busy with elongating our age to make sure that we become older and older and older, to live longer and longer, which is wonderful. Who's complaining? But who cares about us becoming wiser and wiser and wiser and wiser? Who outside of us can do that for us? Who outside of us can model that for us? Who outside of us cares for that? And thus, yet few seem to ripen into elders or blossom into wisdom, and most seem unable to harvest knowledge from life experiences in order to pass it on to those coming along. How are we sold this fountain of youth? How are we sold these images? Well, it started by glossary images on glossary paper in magazines, and then later in commercials and TVs, and everything that we are surrounded by. Sounds simple, but it has shaped who we are, and then it has shaped our culture and society as a whole. We were led astray, which has grown into such a massive monster that it takes a lot to reveal. But how are we going to get there? So those are some of the problems of not being disconnected to wisdom and being disconnected to those who embody these important aspects. We don't appreciate experience. So there's a double bind here that as we're moving forward and we're not appreciating these things inside of us and in the other, we are not cultivating elders in our society. So more people are becoming older, but not elder. So it begets itself, right? And it beautifully mirrors because we don't create room for that which we don't want or need or appreciate. So where does it start? How can we do this? How can we open the back of our hearts and allow our ancestors, mystics, saints, wise beings, connected or not connected to us biologically, to run through us and have their breath come through us and inform us and wake us up from this self-centered way of being. And at the same time, how can we inspire, discover, develop, and cultivate that in our surroundings and look for it outside of us and inspire those who are ahead of us biologically to take that responsibility and accountability, for there will be a time that they will need to sit and guide and inform. But when that is not there, there is no inspiration to get there. And then I'll just worry about how to get older and how to make sure I live longer. And it all becomes just this body that I was loaned as a clothing, which then I have to just give back in a moment of death because it's a loaned clothing. And I just spend my whole life taking care of that. While the one inside went unseen by myself and everyone around me. We have to realize that we are interconnected. Sounds easier than than actualize. We need to start to situate the elders in the right places in our society. We need to challenge the entire retirement concept. We need to question so many things, and we need to challenge them constantly, not through arguments and debates, but by creating actual activities, places and spaces for elders to share their wisdom, whether in the kitchen away from everyone else's eyes, or only happens between the grandparent and grandchildren, and families ensuring that their children are surrounded by their grandparents as much as possible. Because that is where we get to learn and appreciate that those who are older may know more. You see, in other cultures called the polite culture, like you rise in the presence of someone that is older than you. You don't speak too loud. You could be at a grocery store and someone's just a few years older. You have respect for that. Now that is, to us, maybe that looks like some formalities or kind of like some mindless gesture. Or we might go too much into psychology and go like, well, why? Who are they? But it's not for them, it's for you. It's something that comes from inside of you. To situate yourself in the right place. It doesn't belittle you when you respect or bow to someone who's a little bit older than you. It is cultivating something beautiful inside of you. But the reason we don't do that is because, well, we don't respect people that are older than us. Because we don't respect experience, we don't respect wisdom. And then we judge people by their form and what they say. And we don't even see in them the dormant wisdom, let alone to inspire it out of them. Does that make sense? Are you following me? Okay. So we need to invite our elders into our communities, into our shared places, and provide opportunities for them to share. So we begin with our own children or even ourselves. If we have grandparents or not, or we have them but they're far, there are plenty of them in our communities. There are plenty of them in our neighbors. There are plenty of people here, even at Althea here. We can create a group where of all ages, we can call it, like Reb Zalman called it, saging and aging. With all ages we come and we start to share our wisdom and experiences. To break that veil, to break those layers that have isolated us in our neighborhoods or isolated us even in communities. To break away what these terminology mean on the surface only. That elder means older, or elders are like the shamans, or the chiefs of the tribe, something you read in the history books. There are plenty of them in this room. But whoopie-doo we don't tap into, right? So, what's the point of honoring life or getting really excited about life, which is wonderful, or fight for it, which is wonderful, if we can't appreciate subtle things that exist, that is inside of us? So we can also read about these things, read people like Reb Zalman, read people like Michael Meade, who really talk about these subjects, about how to age, how to sage, what is an elder, what are ancestors, how can we feel them, how can we be with them. And then we have to remember. You may ask how? Well, we remember by practicing gratitude. Gratitude is another very important practice without which pretty much everything can go unnoticed in minutes. So how do we practice gratitude? We pause. We intentionally pause we acknowledge the interconnectedness, we reflect that everything we do, everything we know, there were other beings that were involved, without which I wouldn't know it. That's why as a teacher myself, like I get a card 20 years later saying, my entire life was changed by you. I'm like, oh, okay, that was 20 years I didn't know. Right? So what does that mean? That means the real education, the real love, the real exchange doesn't come with instant gratitude. Doesn't come with an instant kind of affirmation. It's invisible. It's something that is rooted and is exchanged from a heart to another heart. You can't put your finger